What's up, guys? Welcome back to another everyday carry video. I am Ryan, and today we are talking about fanny packs. So we have different levels of EDC. We have our on body, we have our fanny pack, we have our sling bag, and then we have our backpack, and then moving into vehicle sustainment, which is the video we released last week. So today we're talking about fanny packs. They are definitely a multiplier in what you can carry versus everything being on your body. They are more comfortable, they are more versatile, you can move them around, you can sling them, you can extend them up and down depending on what your carry needs are and where you're going, what you're doing. So let's go ahead and dive in. Fanny packs come in a lot of different sizes, obviously different colors. Who cares about the color? But one thing stands out on fanny packs that I would like to say not to do if you want to sort of blend in, and that is to have molle on the outside. So something that is a tactical bag or a chest rig obviously is going to stand out. If it is a fanny pack that has molle on it, it is advertising that you have something in there that is maybe tactical or defensive in nature. So I avoid molle at all costs on fanny packs. So as we get into this though, I want to cover some of the features and why I ended on the Eberlestock Fade Flex, and why I think this side is probably a little better than this side, but in particular why I went with this bag. So starting out, I want to cover the Lone Trail. This is my least favorite. It is a high seller on Amazon, but I'm not the biggest fan of this guy, and for a few reasons. So first off, it's quite small. So I want to show you what this would look like if you were to carry something the size of a Glock 43X, or if you were to try to carry something the size of a Glock 19. Now, as I've said in our other YouTube videos, YouTube really likes to censor content like this. So sorry today, but we are not showing off actual firearms. What I have done is give us some very accurate replicas to size. So let's go ahead and show you what this looks like. Yes, this is ridiculous. Yes, it's stupid. But if you go look at our other channel, Pew Deals, you'll see what I'm talking about. So looking at the Lone Trail bag, it does have a Velcro backing in here as well. So if you want to Velcro in a holster, Velcro in a mag holder, something like that, you can do that. But even for something the size of a Glock 43X, it is getting to be a very, very tight fit. This is actually modeled dimensionally after the one that I have. So I do have a threaded barrel, I do have an optic, and yes, it does fit, but if you were to try to have a holster on this and get it in here, it is very, very, very tight to do so. And for me, this is not really applicable. So there's no reason to constrain yourself. So unless you're carrying something really small like an LCP.
Hey, I carry a LCP.
Or maybe even a Bodyguard 380, I would not go with this. Of course, if you're not carrying any firearm, then maybe that's plenty fine for you. Next up, we're going to talk about the Vertx Everyday Fanny Pack. So this is the Gen 1. They have another one that's out now, but this guy, it's a little bit better in that regard. It does have more organization in here. It's probably hard for you to see. Try to turn it around and show it on this camera. But you do have partition pockets here in the front. You do have a lanyard holder here, a loop here on the inside, and you also have Velcro backing on the main CCW pouch. Now, this guy is a little bit more suited for something the size of a 43X. So as you can see, a little bit more room in here. So this will fit. It will fit with the holster. It will fit with a threaded barrel and an optic. It gets really tight if you have a light and you have an optic and you have a threaded barrel. That gets really tight. So just to call that out. And also dimensionally, what we haven't talked about so far is the depth of the pack. And when you really start to carry more supplies in here aside of just your firearm, that depth really matters. And this guy's pretty thin. This guy's pretty thin as well. So I just want to call that out. The zipper pulls on this are great. The only thing that I'm not crazy about is that this front pouch is not ambidextrous. And I don't like the fact that because it's not, you will end up, if you're right-handed, so you're pulling with your left hand to your right side, and also if you stage your zippers in this corner to be faster, you end up with two zipper pulls here, and I'm not crazy about that. So that is just something to call out. But as far as size goes, the Everyday Fanny will fit the 43X here, no problem. It does get very tight if you go up to something like a Glock 19. Essentially, it doesn't really want to fit. So here is our Glock 19, censorship not budget cuts. I have these, I would be happy to show them off, but YouTube won't push this video if I do. So it does fit, but I have to change the angle in which it's in here. It's almost flat in order to fit. And once again, by the time you add a holster in here, you're really out of space. So not designed, once again, the Vertx Everyday Fanny. This is the version 1, but version 1, not really ideal for anything larger than a slimline, you know, very micro 9, like a 43X, 43, even a Smith & Wesson Shield would be fine, but nothing really much bigger than that. Now, moving on from there, we're going to the Eberlestock Bando series, and there are 2 bandos that we're going to talk about, the Standard and the XL. And then we will move on and we'll close this video out with the Fade Flex. I hope the wind noise is not too bad. It's really, really windy today for this tailgate talk. So, the Bando Bag. So this was the first EDC fanny pack from Eberlestock. I did buy this with my own money as well. I want to point that out. And this was a great pack for carrying smaller items like the 43X. And it's the first pack that really had some decent depth to it to allow you to carry additional things like medical. The zippers on this were a little bit stiff. That's been resolved on the Fade Flex. But one thing that they nailed was the CCW pouch and the added depth here. So in this pack, I have room to carry something that is a small CCW like the 43X, something like that. And then I also have this additional pouch here, which has partition pockets inside. It has a main storage pouch, then it has a mesh zippered pocket, and it has a tourniquet elastic band here to retain a tourniquet. So this is much more set up for a true EDC. And like I said, this was their first pack, as far as I know anyway, this was their first pack that they released specifically for EDC. Another thing that they introduced in this pack is dual loops down here where you can attach something like a trigger guard that you can rip away from. And I'll show you that in just a second. The only complaint, as I've already said with these as well, is that the front zippers are not ambidextrous, and that carries over to this as well. So you end up with several different zipper pulls over here, and if you're in a pinch and you're just grabbing and yanking because you're being attacked, that's a lot there going on. So just wanted to call that out. But this is still a viable option even in 2026, and for something smaller like a 43X, a bodyguard, a shield, any of those kind of guns, a 365, this guy would work just fine, and it's going to give you extra room for things like an EDC knife, tourniquet, flashlight, things like that that you have the extra depth for, that in these packs you really don't. Going back to the Everyday Fanny, one thing I forgot to mention about this is this fabric being so thin, this also prints much more than anything else out here, including the Lone Trail. So they've probably resolved that, but I did want to point that out for that version. So moving on from the standard Bando bag, there is the Bando XL, and I carried this guy for about a year. It was great. I didn't have any real issues with it, except for this is just a level up. I didn't have any real complaints with the Bando bag, but the Fade Flex, we'll get to that guy in a second. That is the cream of the crop, in my opinion. So the XL is all the same feature set as the Bando standard. It just has a larger volume in it. So it is a little bit wider, it's a little bit longer, and it's a tiny bit deeper as well. So if you are carrying something like a Glock 19, Glock 17, something like that, this is going to be the way that you're gonna want to go. So I'm sure you're hearing the wind noise now. As I turn this over, you can see though, there's plenty of room in here. This fits in any orientation I would want to put it. And you also even have room, especially if you carry a smaller gun, to carry a spare magazine in here as well. So that is something that I did want to point out. Now, this also, like the Bando standard, has these dual loops here. And that is what I have my O-Light here to show you, is that if you didn't want to run a full holster and you just wanted to run a trigger guard, that's how that would work. So that would tie in there, this would be on your body, and then you would be able to rip your gun away and draw your gun that way. And then when you would be ready to put it back in, you would pop that trigger guard back on, and then you'd be able to have that gun loose in here. Do not carry a chambered gun in any of these without having it in a holster or a trigger guard of some kind. That's a very, very bad idea, and it will come back to bite you. So just to show you, that's what those are for. So you can loop things in, tie them down, and then be able to deploy them when you want. This little O-Light, by the way, it only runs like, I don't know, 10 or 15 bucks, but this is really awesome. Off topic of this video, but it has a magnetic back. So it's probably aluminum. Yeah, it won't stick to my tailgate, but very handy if you're working underneath the truck and you need to stick the light on something. So off topic, I digress, I'm sorry. So the other storage is the same. You have the mesh pouch here, you have the open large storage, you have the elastic retention band. Everything is just larger. So you have room in here to carry more items, to carry more medical, things like that. Now, moving on to the end, I'm gonna set these, I'll just trade this out. We are going to talk about the Fade Flex. And the Fade Flex is the pack that I currently carry, and I am a huge, huge fan of the Fade Flex. Now, I have talked a lot about Eberlestock today. I do have a discount code for Eberlestock. If you want to pick yourself up a bag, you can use code PEWDEALS, and they actually have a spring sale right now with a whole bunch of deals. This guy's 47 bucks right now at Eberlestock, which is awesome. That's cheaper than the Bando bag if you go to Amazon. So just calling that out, great deal to be had. Now, getting into the details of the Fade Flex, this is the evolution. So they put these out on the market, they learned a lot, they listened to customer feedback, and they iterated, and that is where the Fade Flex was born. So the Fade Flex, larger pack, as you can see, it's a lot deeper, so you have a lot more room. And like I said, this is what I actually carry, so it is loaded down, and we'll go through that right now. Another thing that was introduced in this is the ability to retain the strap. So on any of these others, your excess strap kind of hangs off the back here. And, you know, shout out to Vertx for giving you a couple different elastic retainers here, but you end up with this tail no matter what you do. And Eberlestock has solved that. So what they do is on the back pouch here, which by the way, I also forgot to mention, the Vertx does have a back storage pouch so you can put your wallet and phone in there. On the back of the Eberlestock Fade Flex is this retaining ring here, adjustment ring, I should say, for the strap. So you set the strap on the length that you want, and everything else is tucked in here so it's not dangling off of your side. So it's also really easy if you want to extend it. You just kind of lift up on it and pull, and then it will extend out. And same thing if you want to make it tighter, just grab it and pull, and it will tighten up, and all of the excess stays in here. Looking back on this, I probably should have got this in black because it does show dirt. I mean, I carried this thing hunting this year, and it looks pretty good overall, but it will get dirty if you get the green. It is a ripstop fabric as well. It is quite durable. Like I said, I took this hunting all year, and so far it still looks pretty good. One huge thing on the Fade Flex that is an upgrade over everything else is the zipper pulls. These zippers are absolute butter. They are so smooth, and I practice with this. I also carry this. Like, I've run these zippers a lot, and they came like that from the factory, so smooth, and they stay like that now. So that's a huge benefit. Thank you, Eberlestock, for making such a good package. So another thing that the Fade Flex introduces is ambidextrous zippers. So I know this is really nerdy and in the details, but like I said, with the Bando bag or the XL or the standard or any of these others, all of your zippers kind of migrate to the right side, and this solves it. So what I've done here is I have my zipper here tucked in, so you can see this is out, and I actually took this tip from John Lamar, so thank you for that. That tucks in, so the only zipper pull I have on this entire side of the pack is to open the CCW pouch. So if I'm in a pinch, I grab whatever's there and yank it, and I know that it's the right one because it's the only one. And on the opposite side, for getting into my accessories, I have the same thing here, so I can just open this up and get into the pack that way. Now, in the pack itself, in fact, I can open that right back up, I have quite a bit of gear. Let me know, please. I love these conversations that we have in the comments because it really helps me better myself as well. Let me know what you carry, what you like about what I've got in here, and what you would do different. So let me know, please. So inside of this pouch, I have, first off, I have an extra knife. I always have a knife on my person, in my pocket, but having an extra knife is a little bit of redundancy. No issue there at all. I have a lighter with some tape that will burn, that's cotton tape. I do have a poo bag because I have a dog. I have my Victorinox multi-tool there. I have just a cheap Krydex pouch for my extra magazine. I have my Snake Staff Systems 1.5-inch tourniquet, and I have my Streamlight Macro Stream. Somebody reached out about the Mega Stream. I'm gonna get one of those, and then I will review that as soon as I get it and put it up against the Micro Stream. The Micro Stream is a great flashlight. My only complaint is it's USB micro, and it's 2026, so that's kind of dumb. Medical, I'm not gonna take all of this stuff out because it's really, really windy right now and I don't want it to blow around. But in here I have, from My Medic, this is the contents of the My Medic Everyday First Aid Kit. So I have chest seals, I have quick clot, I have a compression bandage, I have nitrile gloves, and then I have some business cards and some band-aids in there as well, just to kind of boo-boo kit setup. So the pouches on this are a little bit different. So you have a zippered front pouch that is opaque, you cannot see in it. Then you have 3 partitioned pouches here with ripstop that is translucent, so you can see actually what's in there. So thank you for that, because it is nice to be able to take a peek and see what's in there. And then the main pouch here, this is the only pack that has this of all of these. This main pouch here is Velcro backed. So you can attach holsters, you can attach gear, holders, things like that to keep everything exactly where you want it. You do need to be careful with the Snake Staff Systems tourniquet because it is Velcro and that's Velcro and it will stick to it. But I've not had any issue grabbing this and yanking it out. It's always come free. So I just want to point that out. And then once again, shout out to John Lamar. Tacking the zippers on that side really helps out. Now, the main CCW pouch, this opens completely flat, which is also nice. Most of these open most of the way, but not completely open like that. And also you do have your 2 loop retainers, and I have this tucked in here so that it doesn't flop around or want to come out. So that just keeps it right there. I'm using the belt attachment panel. I think it's called the BAP strap from Vertx to hold my holster in here. This is a Safariland Incog X, and I do carry my Palmetto State Armory Dagger Micro in here, which is essentially a 43X, and that fits right in there just like that with room to spare. So in this setup, I have my CCW, I have my flashlight, I have a knife, I have an extra magazine, I have a lot of medical, and if I need to throw something in here like an ink pen or some Right in the Rain stuff, whatever, there's a little bit of room here to be a little bit flexible with what I'm carrying. And since this is also Velcro backed, you could even change this up if you had something smaller. Maybe you'd have room to have an extra magazine here if you had a more slimline holster or ran, just a different configuration. The last thing before we close this video is going to be the size. So this being the largest pack here, you've got plenty of room to run something as large as a Glock 19 with an optic, with a threaded barrel, with a light on it. You could even run, I've had my 17 in here. It doesn't have anything on it. It doesn't have a flashlight or an optic. It's just a night sight LE trade-in, but there's plenty of room in here. So I wanted to call that out. So there you have it, guys. Lots of different options on the market, and of course more coming every day. But the fanny pack is definitely in a sweet spot in my setup. It really extends the capability of things that I can have with me without carrying a full backpack or a sling pack that really stands out. It's also nice just to take this, keep it packed up, chuck it in my truck, and then I know if I have to get out somewhere because I'm doing something, I can just throw this on me, I can sling it around my neck, whatever I need to do, and have this on me with this extra gear should I need it. So thanks for watching, guys. We're growing quick on this channel. Thank you very much. Sorry for the censorship, but like I said, YouTube will every video we do if there's any kind of actual firearms in it. So unfortunately, I can't show you that here. So thank you for watching. Go check us out also on the Pew Deals channel. There's more gun stuff over there, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.